Donald Trump makes peace with top technology executives. What the Clinton supporters had to say. Peaceful transfer of power. What the military's doing to protect our American tradition. The shooting at Sandy Hook Elementary 4 years later. How faith is helping victims' families. And happy birthday, Pope Francis. Why he called it bad luck. On EWTN News Nightly for Wednesday, December 14th, 2016. Good evening from Washington, D.C., and thank you to those of you joining us from all around the world. I'm Lauren Ashburn. Governor John Kasich signs a law outlawing abortions in Ohio after 20 weeks of pregnancy. The governor described the bill as the most legally sound and sustainable approach to protecting the sanctity of human life. Now, he vetoed the so-called heartbeat bill, which would have banned abortions even earlier after a baby's heartbeat is detected. He said that bill would have resulted in an expensive and losing court battle. Senator Chuck Grassley, chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, is referring several Planned Parenthood affiliates and companies involved in fetal tissue procurement to the FBI and the Justice Department. That's for investigation and possible prosecution. It was prompted by a series of undercover videos by the Center for Medical Progress. The growth of the Republican majorities in state legislatures and in Congress is giving pro-life advocates a unique opportunity to have a lasting impact for the first time in 8 years. And thousands of marchers are going to come to Washington, D.C. in January to deliver their message to a pro-life president. Jeannie Mancini, president of the March for Life, joins us now. Jeannie, so nice to have you here with us.
It's great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
You heard the news that Senator Grassley is going to send this investigation to the feds. What's your reaction to that?
I'm delighted. I think that it should be taken more seriously. I mean, we're talking about the harvesting of little hearts, little lungs, little livers, and sold for profit. And I think it hasn't been taken seriously under this administration. So I'm delighted to see that now it will have the further gravitas of the Justice Department instead of just the Congressional Committee.
And we also saw that Governor John Kasich has signed the 20-week bill, but not the heartbeat bill. And he's pro-life. And so to me, it seems odd to have him not sign the heartbeat bill, but his reasoning is it wouldn't have gone anywhere. What are your reactions?
You know, different pro-life groups have different approaches and strategies. Incremental laws are a good thing to some groups, and the March for Life is for that. But of course, we know that any abortion is one too many, so we would have hoped that he would have signed the heartbeat bill into law. But I understand this from a different, perspective as well. And we're delighted about the 20-week ban. And of course, 8 out of 10 Americans are not in favor of late-term abortion. So this is not only pro-life, but it's also going to be popular with mainstream America. Not that that's the most important thing, but there's something to that.
There is something to the way people do talk about this issue in polls, and yet the Democratic Party has, this pro-abortion platform as one of the most stringent ever. On to the inauguration with Donald Trump. 44 years it's been since the Roe v. Wade decision, and you are now seeing thousands of pro-lifers come to Washington, D.C. Tell us about the theme this year and the significance, especially in a new Trump administration.
Yeah, well, the enthusiasm for the March for Life this year is even more palpable than normal, I think, because pro-lifers had an unexpected victory on election night.
Yeah, and you said you couldn't believe it.
I was surprised. I was very surprised and really delighted after the promises that President-elect Trump has made to pro-life leaders. So again, I mean, the enthusiasm is so palpable and so tangible. It always is, but there's something that's really different this year, I think, also with the Senate. So, and our theme is the power of one, which is so exciting. I mean, when you think of a dark room and one little candle burning, what a difference that little candle can make. And sometimes we feel like we ourselves, just one, can't make a difference in building a culture of life.
But that's so not true.
It's so not true. Every life is a gift, and the power that one person has in making a difference in the lives around them is just enormous. And so we want to empower people to go to their local communities and to build a culture of life.
Now, will President Trump, I guess he will be President Trump by that point on January 27th.
1 week before will be inaugural day.
Right. Yeah. Will he come to the rally?
Well, we'll see. We're going to keep those invitations close hold for now, but I would invite your viewers to stay tuned
and to
in the days
lobby
before the March
for
Life.
it, right? Okay.
Right.
Jeannie Mancini, President of the March for Life, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Catholic cemeteries are working with bishops in Texas to come up with alternative burial options for aborted children. A new state law requires the remains of all children lost to abortion to be properly buried, and the Catholic Conference of Bishops is teaming up with cemeteries and funeral homes to provide those burials at no charge. Burying the dead is a work of mercy, and the Texas bishops say it is right and just to assist victims of abortion. New signs in public restrooms in Oklahoma aim to reduce abortion and help women in crisis pregnancies. The State Board of Health announced signs will be posted in hospitals, nursing homes, restaurants, and public schools, saying that there are many public and private agencies willing to help you carry your child to term and assist you and your child after your child is born, whether you choose to keep your child or place him up for adoption. Those signs will also include a link to the health department's website. Oklahomans for Life requested the bill, and the legislature and the governor must ratify the signage rules before they're scheduled to go into effect on January 1st of 2018. A former Navy SEAL and pro-life Republican representative from Montana is Donald Trump's choice to head the Department of the Interior. Ryan Zinke has been a vocal supporter of keeping public lands in the government's hands. Ryan Zinke battled adversaries for 23 years as a Navy SEAL from Iraq to Kosovo, earning 2 Bronze Stars. As a congressman, he's on the Armed Services and Natural Resources committees and has a 100% pro-life voting record since 2015. Republican Representative Kathy McMorris Rogers was Zinke's main rival for the Interior position. It was President-elect's son, Donald Jr., who helped seal the deal in Zinke's favor. He vacationed earlier this month in Montana. That trip is said to have played a role in pushing Zinke to the top of the list of contenders. In his time on the Hill, he's faced criticism from environmental and conservation groups. Donald Trump's transition spokesperson, Jason Miller, spoke highly of him, saying, Congressman Zinke is a strong advocate for American energy independence, and he supports an all-encompassing energy policy that includes renewable, fossil fuels, and alternative energy. News of Zinke's intended appointment was welcomed by the conservation organization Backcountry Hunters and Anglers and by 2 of Montana's Native American tribes. Donald Trump confirms his pick for Energy Secretary. Former Texas Governor Rick Perry could lead the department he previously wanted to eliminate. Trump released this statement today, saying Perry led Texas through a sustained period of economic growth and prosperity by developing its energy resources and infrastructure. Perry calls it a tremendous honor to be chosen for Trump's cabinet. He still needs Senate confirmation. The president-elect meets with key members of the tech world. Apple, Facebook, and Amazon were among the group. But Trump focused on jobs and how the industry can help the government become more efficient. Much of Silicon Valley strongly opposed Trump during the campaign. One company not in attendance today, Twitter, Trump's social media tool of choice. The spokesman for the Trump transition says there will be follow-up meetings and Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey could join them. Donald Trump thanks voters in Wisconsin for helping him win the presidency. Trump spoke last night to a crowd in West Allis, just outside Milwaukee. People booed the Speaker of the House when Trump mentioned his name, but Trump told the crowd he likes Paul Ryan.
He's like a fine wine. Every day goes by, I get to appreciate his genius more and more. Now, if he ever goes against me, I'm not going to say that, okay?
Trump also made it a point to wish the crowd Merry Christmas, rather than using the term Happy Holidays. Organizers of next month's presidential inauguration estimate 800,000 people will pack into the nation's capital to witness Donald Trump take the oath of office. Wyatt Goolsbee will be one of them, and he joins us from the National Guard Armory in Washington, D.C. That's where members of the military are coordinating security for the big day. Wyatt, tell us what they had to say.
Lauren, members of the military, of all branches of the military, as well as National Guard troops from across the country, are working together to make sure they have enough personnel for every major landmark and parade spot for the inauguration. For them, January 20th will not be just another political event. It's a hallmark of American democracy.
Barack Hussein Obama.
I, Barack Hussein Obama, do solemnly swear.
It's an American tradition, the peaceful transfer of power following an election, and with it, a parade, balls, and other festivities throughout the nation's capital. But to pull it off flawlessly, it takes months of preparation.
To make this a team effort, to make this a successful event.
Members of every branch of the military and National Guard troops from across the country are involved, making sure every landmark is mapped on their giant 60 by 40-foot floor map of Washington.
This is much like the walkthrough that each piece does that we'll be going through.
Much of what Donald Trump and Vice President-elect Mike Pence will do and where they will go is laid out in advance. But Chief Master Sergeant Jessica Deary with the Air Force says there are a number of unknown factors, like the weather, they have to be ready for.
The names change, and certainly the volume of the crowd changes, and as technology changes, we adapt to that as well. But this is just sort of standard practice. We do this every 4 years. We're prepared for it. We learn from what we did the previous inauguration, take those lessons, improve upon what we're able to do.
And it's flexibility that's key, according to Errol Schwartz, who is the commanding general of D.C.'s National Guard.
We do put them through a filter by giving them the appropriate briefings before deputizing by MPD to go ahead and support the city. So they are excited to be here.
General Schwartz tells me about 8,000 National Guard members from across the country will be in D.C. that day. Add that to the 5,000 active duty military personnel, and we're getting a better idea now, Lauren, of just how many people in uniform we're going to be seeing on January 20th.
I would imagine, Wyatt, that one of the issues is if something happens to Donald Trump or if he's going to do anything out of the ordinary.
No, Lauren, nothing official yet, but certainly we know they're at least aware of it. When you look carefully on that map that we showed you in the story, that the Trump Hotel in D.C. is located right along the parade line. So you could bet that the Secret Service is going to be there, as well as other law enforcement, and the National Guard tells me they will be there to back up law enforcement if they need the help. Lauren.
All right, Wyatt Goolsby, thank you so much. Other stories our EWTN News Nightly team is covering in today's world. Fighter jets resume deadly air raids over rebel-held territories packed with civilians in Aleppo, Syria. It ends a ceasefire deal brokered yesterday by the Russians. The new attacks threaten evacuation plans of rebels and tens of thousands of civilians. Tonight, the Eiffel Tower will go dark as a symbol of solidarity with the people of eastern Aleppo. And hundreds of mourners attend a funeral for the victims of Thursday's plane crash in Pakistan. 47 people were killed. The remains of nearly half of the passengers have not yet been identified. A chilling admission from the president of the Philippines. Rodrigo Duterte says he personally killed suspected criminals while mayor of a southern Philippines town.
I used to do it personally, just to show to the guys that if I can do it, why can't you?
Official police figures show that almost 6,000 people there have died so far in a brutal war on drugs, most in vigilante killings. Coming up, Trump tops Francis. We reveal Forbes' most powerful people in the world. And remembering the tragedy at Sandy Hook Elementary School 4 years later, how one of the victims' husbands leans on his Catholic faith to get by. If you're looking to take out a loan, it's going to get more expensive. Fed Chair Janet Yellen announced a quarter-point interest rate increase this afternoon.
In doing so, my colleagues and I are recognizing the considerable progress the economy has made toward our dual objectives of maximum employment and price stability.
It's the first hike in a year. The Federal Reserve hinted at an interest rate jump since last summer because of steady economic growth. The rates affect everything from mortgages to car loans and credit cards. Yellen says the Reserve foresees 3 more rate hikes next year. A group of atheists files a lawsuit challenging a tax law allowing churches to provide clergy the same housing benefits that are available to nonprofits and businesses. Critics of the lawsuit say it would amount to discrimination against pastors and faith leaders. Hannah Smith, senior counsel with the Becket Fund for Religious Liberty, joins us. Hannah, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Lauren.
The parsonage allowance is this 60-year-old provision in the tax code letting churches provide this tax-exempt housing assistance so ministers can live near their congregations. Why is it being challenged now?
Well, you know, the Freedom from Religion Foundation is an atheist group in Wisconsin, and they basically go around the country trying to find things that are religious that they find problematic, that they can challenge in the courts of law. And so they've decided that they're going to challenge the parsonage allowance and get it struck down.
Well, you filed a response on behalf of Ed Peacher, who is a Chicago pastor, and then there were other faith leaders who joined on. What do you see as the most compelling part of your argument?
Well, you know, we've asked the court to allow us to intervene in this lawsuit because we think it's really important that the court not make a decision on this important provision without hearing from the ministers and faith leaders who actually utilize the parsonage allowance. These are really impressive faith leaders who engage in community outreach and compelling community programs, like Bishop Ed Peacher, who, you know, founded the Chicago Peace Campaign back in 2009, and he stands on the street corners in the summer in the most dangerous, violent neighborhoods of the south side of Chicago. And he ministers to these gang members, and he tries to bring peace. And so he gets a housing allowance. Should he be stripped of that housing allowance? No, that's ridiculous. That would be discrimination, especially when there are all of these other secular employees that get similar tax treatment on their housing allowances.
Are there certain district or circuit courts that are more likely to be receptive to your lawsuit?
Well, you know, the Freedom from Religion Foundation is in Madison, Wisconsin. So they bring a lot of these lawsuits in the federal district court in the Western District of Wisconsin, which is where we are in this lawsuit. But they have traveled around the country filing lawsuits in many different federal district courts. And we have gone up against them before in other cases, and we have prevailed in many different courts around the country. So
are you going to, do you think it'll make it to a higher court?
You know, if the district court were to strike down the parsonage allowance, which we don't think that they should, but if they do, then it could be appealed up to the Seventh Circuit. And on appeal, we would also participate at that level as well.
Now, while this is happening, does Pastor Peacher still get his housing allowance?
Yes, all of the ministers can continue to get their housing allowance. What Freedom from Religion Foundation wants to do is basically penalize these ministers by making them be treated differently from all of the other secular employees who also get housing allowances that are not taxable.
Hannah Smith, thank you so much for stopping by. You're senior counsel with the Becket Fund for Religious Liberty.
Thank you.
Flags are flying at half-staff across Connecticut to mark the 4th anniversary of the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting. That's in Newtown. Catherine Zeltner traveled to Newtown last year to document the healing process.
Can healing come in 3 years?
It's one of those days that you never forget, and you know exactly where you were and who you were with and what you were doing.
On December 14, 2012, 20-year-old gunman Adam Lancet killed 20 first graders and 6 educators at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut, before taking his own life. Monsignor Robert Weiss is pastor at St. Rose of Lima Catholic Church in Newtown. He was at the scene.
You're almost like in a war zone in the front of an elementary school in a town like we're in Sandy Hook, where this is not supposed to happen.
Monsignor Weiss still ministers to families grieving the loss of 26 innocent lives. Mary Sherlock was one of the victims.
You just say Mary Sherlock and faces light up.
Bill Sherlock was Mary's husband.
Mary was a very giving person, always thinking of someone else before herself.
Where did you guys get married?
In Vestal, New York, where she grew up.
He's adapting to life without the woman he knew for 36 years by his side. How is Christmas going to be this year?
It's sort of mixed. You know, empty chairs at the table. Ours way too soon.
Bill leans on his Catholic faith to get him through the difficult moments.
It gave me the strength to survive minute to minute, hour to hour.
Monsignor Weiss says each family copes in a unique way, but there is a common thread.
Forgiveness is a word that you don't hear in conversation very often in this town. I think when something like this happens, you want to blame somebody. I've always believed what the Lord's Prayer says. You know, unless we forgive, we can't love.
Where are you on this path towards forgiveness? What does that look like?
I knew this question was coming. I'm not very far down that path, and I know that I'm supposed to be a forgiving type of person. Forgiveness, forgive me, but that's I think still a long way off.
Catherine Saltner, EWTN News Nightly.
We want to thank Ber Sholak for sharing his first interview from a faith perspective. Up next, a personal Pope Francis encounter for EWTN's Catholic news agency's Alan Holdren. He talks about the experience. And celebrating the Holy Father's birthday a few days early, what Pope Francis told the crowd. Today is the memorial of St. John of the Cross. The 16th century Spanish mystic is best known for reforming his order with St. Teresa of Avila. He also wrote the poem, The Dark Night of the Soul, and that term refers to the spiritual crisis we sometimes experience in our relationship with God. Forbes magazine releases its list of the most powerful people of 2016, and the top 5 features the president-elect and Pope Francis. Forbes put Russian President Vladimir Putin at the top of the list, Donald Trump number 2, followed by Germany's Angela Merkel and China's Xi Jinping. Pope Francis rounds out the top 5. Pope Francis builds on his message of Christian hope.
E per questo la nostra preghiera perché il Signore ci dia ogni giorno la speranza e la dia a tutti.
The Holy Father says it's our duty to deliver Jesus' message to the world, including that the hope that baby Jesus provides around Christmas time. Francis is continuing teaching on hope. He started last week as Advent continues. The Rome Bureau Chief for Catholic News Agency, our EWTN sister company, enjoyed a personal encounter with Pope Francis this weekend. Alan Holdren and his family were invited to bring up the gifts during Mass in honor of Our Lady of Guadalupe. That was at St. Peter's Basilica. He's joining us now from Rome. Alan, what a great honor. Tell us what it was like.
Lauren, this was really just an extraordinary opportunity for us. We were invited by the Pontifical Commission for Latin America that organizes this Mass every year. Just beautiful to be there with the Holy Father there to come up with the gifts. He blessed each of our children, Isabel, Tommy, and Joseph. He shook our hands. He thanked us for being there. Really unforgettable for us as a family, and a real grace and a blessing. To be there for the Guadalupe Mass in particular, for us, me being from the United States, my wife is from Italy, it was a chance to touch base with my roots, the patroness of the Americas. We make this an annual occasion. This year was particularly special.
Thank you so much. The Holy Father's birthday isn't until Saturday. But today at his weekly address, the crowd couldn't help themselves. They started celebrating early. Pope Francis joked, not so fast. Thousands sang happy birthday in Italian to the Holy Father. He thanked them for these birthday wishes, but he said, wait a minute, in my country, it's bad luck to wish someone an early happy birthday. The informal party for the Pope continued after his weekly address. The Holy Father received a few birthday cakes by people who came to see him speak. Pope Francis turns 80 on Saturday. For all of us here at EWTN News Nightly, to all of you around the world, I'm Lauren Ashburn, and I'll see you again tomorrow night. We leave you with more images of Pope Francis greeting pilgrims at the Vatican today. Good night, and God bless.